Can I tell you a secret? I do weird, very unrelatable things with regards to travel compared to most folks because the types of travel I do are a bit odd, but in this video, I want to share the 5 things I believe are ubiquitous for every type of trip and traveler, after learning from countless mistakes that I've made having now sailed on over 300 international flights. First, especially if you're headed to a new destination for the first time, is a physical handwritten card with side 1 being your reference side and side 2 being the SOS side. You know, if you become, knock on wood, unresponsive. The form factor doesn't matter. I mean, I'll link these very cheap, blank, rounded corner business cards down in the description, which I like because they are not as flimsy as, say, a post-it note. But again, literally any piece of paper that's easily carried on your person will do. I keep these in my travel tools bin, and I'll take 2 out and duplicate the information. So on my reference side, I've got the local emergency first responder number of the place I'm visiting, since the 911 that I'm used to here in Toronto ain't the same everywhere. Next, as a Canadian, I'll find the Canadian consulate or embassy number and address at my destination country. And lastly, especially if the place I'm going to does not have a Canadian embassy or consulate office, I'll go onto the Government of Canada's Travel Emergency Response webpage and fill out the assistance request email, phone number, and as a pleasant benefit, they now even have WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal too, so we don't have to make long distance calls. I believe most of you who are watching based on my YouTube analytics are from countries with similar web pages, like this one from the USA's Department of State website. And to be clear, I of course also save all of these details in my phone, but having 2 or even 3 hard copies that take less than 10 minutes total to write out by hand means that I can have this information in my wallet, my passport wallet, and anywhere else to refer to in the rare event my phone is lost or stolen. On the other side, the SOS unresponsive side, is where I'll write my own name, my sister's name, phone number, and critically her email address, since I can't expect a local Good Samaritan to make a long distance call. Next is my accommodation's name, phone number, and address. And finally, all things medical. Any allergies, especially to antibiotics I have, and although I'm tremendously fortunate to not have any now, I would of course recommend listing any medications you require as well as any ongoing health conditions paramedics and other healthcare professionals would benefit from knowing. Statistically, we should still expect everything to go as planned for our vacation, but the cost-benefit analysis of spending just 10 minutes in prep versus the hours, dollars, and potential disaster is, in my opinion, a no-brainer. Many folks also recommend having 1 or 2 photocopies of the photo page of their passports as well. Next on my opinion list of must-haves for all travelers is a light hoodie. Even if you're going to a very hot destination, you can't change the thermostat yourself on the plane. Once the sun sets where you are, if the wind picks up and you find yourself outside still, it still could get quite cold. The specific reasons why I recommend a thin hoodie is twofold. 1, it's lightweight and easy to pack when not in use, yet still makes a very noticeable difference when you're cold. I mean, bulky hoodies take up a shockingly large amount of bag or luggage space. 2, they dry much faster, which means whether it gets moisture from sweat, rain, or washing, a thin lightweight hoodie will be ready to wear much faster than a regular or thick one. My go-to is the compact full zip travel hoodie by Unbound Merino, because high-quality superfine merino wool dries ridiculously fast, but also both resists odor better than any other fabric and is naturally antimicrobial, so it stays clean for much longer. The problem with superfine high-quality merino wool is that if you don't travel enough or just wear day-to-day enough to justify the cost per use, it does feel very expensive. So if you don't want to spend that, my recommendation to achieve many of the benefits is to go with something like an athletic brand's non-cotton thin option, like this Nike Dri-Fit hoodie I picked up from the outlet store for $25. Next up is a bit of a cheat because it's actually 2 things lumped into one, and it's a power bank and a short cable. But when we're traveling, especially if we're using Google Maps to find our way around as we explore, it can feel quite surprising just how fast our phone's battery can drain. And because of how vital our phones are, a robust power bank is almost obvious to everyone. However, the reason I recommend also getting a short cable is because a spare cable is always a good idea in case our main one gets lost or breaks. Reason 2, once you experience the liberation of a short cable specifically for a power bank, not worrying about detangling or getting wrapped around other stuff in your bag, you really start to appreciate this, instead of the alternative, which is this. With a compact cable, you can easily keep both your phone and it stacked and charging without awkward pocketing, all in a nice clean package. I find power banks to be so good now that basically anything with good ratings online are trustworthy enough. But if you're curious about the one I use, I still, after several years, use a Nightcore NB10K because of how compact and lightweight it is, while still offering 10,000 milliamp hours of juice, along with both a USB Type-A as well as a USB Type-C port. Next up is a sling, specifically with a 3rd recessed zipper pocket against the back. I mean, even if you would never use a sling bag on home turf, when traveling you'll naturally need to carry a few more items. items. Case in point, that power bank we just mentioned. But why specifically with a third recessed rear pocket? I've mentioned it many times before, but specifically for travel, having a dedicated pocket on the back so that it's right up against your body offers a tiny bit of added security, while much more importantly being a single point of set it and forget it confidence that your most important items have a dedicated home so they don't get mixed up with other items in the main or front compartments. Emergency cash, your passport if you're in a country like Japan that requires all visitors to always have their passport on them, your hotel key card or Airbnb key. These are the things that you'll rarely actually have to access while you're out exploring, but that you'll always want to be confident knowing exactly where you put them. And that rear zippered pocket right up against your body when the sling is worn is that confident spot. Similarly to power banks, there are so many fantastic options for slings that have a third recessed pocket. As usual though, I'll share the ones that I personally use. For non-laptop needed days, I go for the TomTalk T33 Aviator. I believe TomTalk is by far the best bang for buck travel sling, coming in at less than $50 with a ripstop nylon outer, complete RFID blocking liners, a light orange interior ripstop nylon to easily find stuff even in low light, and of course that third rear recessed pocket. For travel that requires a laptop, this Alpaca Bravo Sling Max has been my go-to for over a year. It only accommodates a 13-inch MacBook Air or Pro, so if your computer is larger than that, this won't fit the bill. But if you use a compact laptop, I haven't found a better bag yet for computer-required travel. And I also like pairing it with the PGY Tech capture clip and action cam mount to have an unassuming chest cam mount for POV shots as well. Both of these slings also have exterior anchor points to pair with Night Eyes S-Beaners in their number 4 size to anchor things like water bottles or a hat or anything else with a loop on the outside for quick access. And you can find both of these fantastic slings linked down in the description below. By the way, I forgot to mention earlier that the reason all of my thin lightweight hoodies, Unbound Merino or not, are full zip is also for a little tiny bit of added security specifically with sling bags. If I'm headed to more off the beaten path areas or places where pickpocketing and snatchings are known to have occurred, I like to put my thin hoodie over my sling so it's protected from snatching from my blind side. This leads us towards the end of the list, but before that, if there is anything that you swear by as a non-negotiable for when you travel, drop it down in the comments so everyone can benefit from your experience. I mean, with the advent of trackers like Apple AirTags and tile trackers, some folks load everything of theirs up. My last must-have is probably odd to most people, but again, after more than 300 international flights and long-term work trips spanning every single continent except for Antarctica, it is a dedicated high-output flashlight. I'm so now psychologically dependent that, like the weirdo that I am, I always pack 2 of these things, and to see all the specific and detailed reasons why, along with in-field examples, you will definitely want to watch this video right up here. If you already have a dedicated flashlight though, this video down here is the one for you. I'll leave them both on screen for a few seconds so you can choose which one to watch next, but while you're deciding, consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you'll be notified the moment new videos just like this one drop.